Yesterday, my family in Syria buried our 8 family members who've been killed in Syria. What makes the AM story different to the rest of my family members who were being killed is that we were told initially that he was kidnapped by a tribal group in rural Damascus, who were basically about extortion, kidnapping, and demanding ransom, and apparently returning the body. Now, later on we found out that he was actually killed it was the Free Syrian Army. It wasn't actually a tribal group. They said that to make us feel a little bit more comfortable. They called his father and they told him, "We have your son," and they were demanding 5 million liras, which equates to, depending on exchange rates, about 65,000 Australian dollars. They demanded it in 2 days, otherwise he was going to be killed. Now, this story, if you speak to Syrians, you'll find that it's there's similar stories. There's thousands and thousands of similar stories, and I've spoken to many friends and family members, or my husband's family members as well, which have basically given me the same story. My uncle, through a good week of absolute terror, some days they'd say that he's being tortured. He was requested to speak to him to confirm that he was alive before he paid the money. They're a poor family, they don't have money, they live on the outskirts of Tartus, and it took a lot of bonding and a lot of people donating to actually get the money together. So he did tell them that it's a bit difficult to come up with the money in 2 days. They did need him an extension. He requested to speak to him, and every day they would basically give him a new an excuse. One day he was apparently digging underground, and it was too difficult for him or for the reception, he won't be able to speak. Another day he was being tortured, so no, this is a time for torture. We torture our prisoners, you can't speak to him. So they put him through an emotional roller coaster, basically. So then came the time he actually travelled to Damascus. He had gathered all the money and he called them. He had told them that I have the money now. In the meantime, he had spoken to the reconciliation team in Syria, who were going to be the delegation. They didn't want him to actually go alone and pay the money. They were going to go and pay it themselves. When they found out that he did have somebody else involved, as they told him not to involve anybody, they began swearing at him, cursing at the Syrian government, cursing at his religion. They were very hateful. Still, though, he was going to go ahead with it. But one of the family friends, a Sunni Muslim, he told them that they're basically not going to kill one of their own. Let me go down and confirm that Adam is alive before you pay the money. So he went down, he met with them, and they told him to remove himself from the issue or from the situation. He's not like them. Others are infidels, and they have plans to meet him and take the money and kill him and his son, the other son that was going with him to pay the money. And Aham had been killed on the first day. So this friend went back and told him, take your son and go home. They've killed your son. They're planning on killing you too. So there's no need to meet with them or take the money. Then it was obviously he wasn't going to go home without his son's body. It was a matter of now going and retrieving the body, which was a very difficult task, considering the sniping. There was so much sniping, so much fire. Eventually they did go retrieve the body, and it had to be taken to the military hospital, where they weren't able then to, this has been going on over a matter of 2 weeks now. His body's been in the military hospital for over a week because the military hospital was under siege by the Free Syrian Army, who were planning on attacking it and taking bodies of the martyrs, so they can or demand ransom for the return from the families for the return of their bodies. So it's become very, very dirty, you could say. There's many stories as well. Stories of people that have been kidnapped, civilians have been kidnapped. Upon returning them, asking for ransom, returning them to their family, they've been injecting them with diesel, petrol and drugs, and the children are basically dying. So that's very common these days. I remember my memories from Syria was that I was overwhelmingly safe. It was an overwhelming feeling of safeness, and now you have the absolute opposite. People are afraid to go out. They're afraid to travel to work in the event that they'd be kidnapped by the Free Syrian Army or their affiliates. Now, what's really concerning, especially concerning to me, I'm a mother of 4, having my boys raised in a country where there's increasing hate with the conservative, ultra-conservative Islamists. A lot, and I think it's been reported that there's hundreds of Islamists that have actually travelled to Syria. Most of them would be of Lebanese descent. But they've travelled to Syria for joining jihad to fight to liberate Syria. A lot of those men will come back, and when they come back, they'll have urban warfare and planning experience, they'll have bomb-making experience, and they'll have a lust to kill. They'll have sectarianism, and they'll bring that all back to Australia. I will not accept raising my children in a place where they're going to be afraid to, as well as in Syria, go out, in case it's known what their denomination is, and they'll be killed because of that denomination. Ultimately, these Islamists plan to establish a caliphate in Syria. In rural Aleppo, that's actually begun. You've got a Saudi Arabia-style Sharia law happening at the moment. And it's funny, with the International Women's Day coming up, you have women in rural Aleppo that have been banned from driving. They've been banned from walking in public without a male guardian. You have a religious police now. They've got a formation of a religious police that basically go out and make sure people are following the call for prayer and adhering to their Islamic law. I think the Free Syrian Army is quite fragmented at the moment, but the very dangerous arm of Free Syrian Army are the ones that are actually with the Al-Qaeda's Jabhat al-Nusra Front. It's a very, very prominent arm of Al-Qaeda, which are the ones behind the suicide bombings in Syria, and basically the bulk of the Free Syrian Army have all, they've stated that they are all Jabhat al-Nusra. After they were, the US basically put them on the Al-Qaeda's list, or a terrorist organisation, and declared them a terrorist organisation. The Free Syrian Army jumped up then and said, we are all Jabhat al-Nusra. They've taken a secular nation and they've turned it into an Islamist state, or the little parts that they've actually had control, they're able to control. And that's all under the guise of freedom and democracy, and mainstream media puts that forward. Freedom and democracy, they're freeing Syrians. My view of Syria is basically it was free. It was a free country. People were able to go out at all hours of the night. When I visit Syria, I'd be out at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'd feel safe. It was a free country. People were able to speak their mind. People were able to engage in any extracurricular activity they wanted to. There was a lot of tolerance. People were happy. Sunnis, you've got Sunnis, Shias, Ismailis. You have people, friends. And now basically they're all friends. They're all tolerant of each other. They're all hanging out, so to speak, with each other. These days, with the heightened sectarianism, I don't believe you'd find a friend that would dare go out with their friends in public in case, for example, my cousin's friend that did go and speak to the Free Syrian Army members, he was told to, and this would be everywhere, all over Syria, he was told to remove himself from the infidel Alawis. And you read between the lines, and the reading between the lines is that they're basically killing. If he was with the infidel Alawis or the infidel Christians or anyone that does not follow their ideology is against them, and anyone that doesn't adhere to them are basically infidels. So you're either with us or you're against us is their ideology, and that's basically really, I don't know what else to say. I'm just really, really emotional again when I talk about them and what I remember from Syria and what Syria is now. The reality of Syria is now it's a devastated country where historical and archaeological artifacts are being stolen, museums being looted, and they're being taken out of the country. In the museum in Raqqa now, that was looted, and the artifacts were taken to Turkey to be sold. And that's been basically from the beginning of the revolution. The history of the nation is basically dying, and Western nations are just sitting there and watching and pleased. Well, they're doing it, yes, they are actually.